Good morning, our distinguished guests. Chairman of the Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board, His Excellency Mr. Mahendra Siregar. Indonesian Ambassador to the United States, His Excellency Mr. Dino Patijalal. Head of U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Thomas J. Donohue. Managing Director of AmCham Indonesia, Mr. Andrew White. Managing Partner of Ernst & Young ASEAN Advisory Service, Giuseppe Nicolosi. Vice Rector of Paramadina University and Managing Director of Paramadina Public Policy Institute, Mr. Wijayanto Samirin. Senior Researcher from Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Gadjah Mada, Mr. Insuk Tindru. Distinguished representative of ministries, honored guests, and our media friends. Welcome to the launch of a report entitled Partners in Prosperity, U.S. Investment in Indonesia. This report is commissioned by AmCham Indonesia, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and USAID Indonesia. This report will provide new insights on the size, nature, and benefits of U.S. investment in Indonesia and the outlook for continued U.S. investment. This report was conducted by the study team from Ernst & Young Indonesia, Paramadina Public Policy Institute, and Gadjah Mada University. This event is also supported by Bloomberg TV Indonesia as our exclusive media partner. This morning agenda will be as follows. Opening speech by Head of U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Thomas J. Donohue. Remarks by Chairman of the Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board, His Excellency Mr. Mahendra Siregar. Panel discussion on the report entitled Partners in Prosperity, U.S. Investment in Indonesia, which will be followed by question and answer session and moderated by Managing Director of AmCham Indonesia, Mr. Andrew White. The event will be closed by Indonesian Ambassador to the United States, His Excellency Mr. Dino Patijalal. We will have the head of U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Thomas J. Donohue, to give his opening remarks. Since assuming his position in '97, Mr. Thomas J. Donohue has built the chamber into a lobbying and political powerhouse with expanded influence across the globe. Mr. Donohue spearheaded the creation of the American Free Enterprise Dream Big campaign, a positive long-term program to defend, protect, and advance a free enterprise system based on individual initiative, hard work, and personal responsibility, operating with free trade, free capital markets, and reasonable taxes and regulation. Let us welcome Mr. Thomas J. Donohue to come to the stage to give his opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be here with such a distinguished group representing the business community and government. And I would like to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your hospitality and the extraordinary exchange that we had the occasion to enjoy this morning. Mr. Ambassador, we're sort of sorry you're going home. But you look happy, and you've done a wonderful job. We know you'll be in Washington for a few more months, and we look forward to following up on this excellent visit when we get home. I'd also like to recognize Andrew White of the AmCham Indonesia, our partner in the study. But before I say more about that, let me begin by expressing how pleased I am to be back in Indonesia. I've been here on a number of occasions. I've enjoyed visiting our friends and learning more about your country, and I will talk about that some in my brief comments. This is clearly an exciting time for Indonesia. It is a growing economic powerhouse in Southeast Asia and a pillar for regional security, with a young and vibrant population and an expanding middle class, otherwise interpreted by people as an excellent market. In fact, 60 million Indonesians are projected to to move up into the middle class in the next 10 years. As the host of this year's APEC conference, Indonesia will soon fill the international spotlight as one of the largest economies in the region and one of the largest populations in the globe. This is the world's third largest democracy. The nation has a lot to be proud of. So I look forward, as many of you do, to attending the APEC meetings in a few days, as does President Obama, who is involved in some very exciting issues at home and abroad, but has reconfirmed his intention to be here. As you know, he spent some amount of time here as a boy. This is also an exciting time for the friendship between our two countries, which is growing stronger every day. 3 short years ago, we launched the groundbreaking comprehensive partnership to further evaluate and press forward our bilateral relations by enhancing cooperation and upgrading strategic consultations on key bilateral, regional, and global issues. And that partnership today is paying dividends, some that we can talk about and some that we don't, because it is a partnership based on economics, but also based on regional security. The benefits of U.S. investment are clear to all of us. One of the linchpins of our friendship has been our commercial relationship. Today, it's my pleasure to unveil with others a new report focusing on one important aspect of that relationship. Make sure you understand, this is one aspect. We have a multi-dimensional relationship. This is the economic aspect. We really are excited about this study. And a lot of credit goes to the universities and to our contractor, but the real, and to our financiers, but the real credit goes to the countries and the companies that are investing with one another. It's a groundbreaking study that fully outlines the benefits of U.S. investment to the Indonesian people and what it will take to ensure that that investment continues and expands in the years ahead. The study was based on a broad-based analysis of the data, but also serious interviews with senior executives from 35 U.S. companies with direct investments in Indonesia. I was saying today at breakfast, where you get your next dollar is where you got your best chance, is where you got your last dollar. And so talking to the 35 companies that are already invested here, as well as looking over the data, it really gives us a good sense of where we are. And I told you who did the study, but I want to say again, I really appreciate USAID for the help and giving it not only some resources, but a great deal of credibility. I think you're going to find the results of the study surprising. I did. So let me mention a few highlights. On the basis of our interviews alone, we concluded conservatively that from 2004 to 2012, the United States invested $65 billion in Indonesia, making America potentially the largest investor in the country over that time. So you've got 9 years, $7 billion a year on a straight line basis, and that's a lot of money. This contrasts sharply with most published data that suggests the United States is the 4th largest investor in the country. Guess nobody went to talk to the companies, because some investments, U.S. investments, may be made through local corporations that they own or other ways. So we went and actually said, where'd the money go? And who got it? And what we learned was very, very important. In the next 3 to 5 years, this study said, now this, if you don't listen to anything else, listen to this, that U.S. companies planned an additional $61 billion worth of investment in Indonesia, and that's today. So if you look at that, that's more than 20 billion a year, up from 7 billion a year. An amount that will be critical in helping the government achieve its growth and investment targets and helping the companies expand their activity to meet the demands of a growing market. In terms of employment, our study found that just the U.S. companies we surveyed directly employ approximately 183,000 Indonesians at competitive wages. Indirectly, U.S. companies supported more than 1.7 million Indonesian jobs from 2007 and 2012, and that's the ones they know about. Because the more you drive the economy, the more you have investment activity moving, the more collateral jobs that are created in a society. This study also shows that American investment is benefiting the Indonesian economy in ways that transcend the simple dollar figures. U.S. companies are boosting local productivity, investing in their employees, and making significant long-term contributions to the communities in which they operate. The study clearly demonstrates that American companies are committed to investing here. However, they have identified, and you wouldn't be surprised by this, a number of challenges that may pose to be barriers in investing, multiplying that investing going forward. These challenges fall into 3 categories. Regulations, you're going to think I'm talking about the United States here. Regulations, infrastructure, and human talent. The regulations are simple. Governments always feel a need to regulate to protect the common good. The regulations that are problems are ones that are redundant and keep stacking one on top of the other, and regulations that may be in place to protect domestic markets from competition from abroad. Still, I'm talking about the United States. Then the question of infrastructure. You know, wasn't many years ago the United States felt that they had one of the great infrastructures in the world. But if you don't keep it up, if you don't expand it to support a growing economy and a growing population and an expanding middle class, if you don't expand it to support energy development and to support the movement of goods, the supply chain operations in each of our countries need constant updating to be able to support a growing economy. And then, of course, is the issue of human talent. If you have it, you are attractive and successful. If you don't have it, it's a real problem being competitive. In the United States, for example, that means we have to continue to improve our K through 12 education system. And if we do nothing else between now and the end of the year, we need to pass an immigration bill that lets us attract the high-end people that are educated in our universities, for example, and the workers that we need that are the base and core of our economy that we need to be able to bring back and forth as they're needed for work in our economy and on a seasonal basis as well. I am hopeful that we will get that done. Now, let me explain up front that I say these very same things at home in a most aggressive way. But I say them to you and I say them to Indonesia because there are lots of people in lots of countries around the world improving their ability to attract American investment. So I suggest that Indonesia get first online. And the best way to get there is to look at these competitive issues. In fact, as I said, we face our own challenges at home, and doing these kinds of studies, encouraging investment, really helps us press our own government and our own companies to continue to move forward. As I said, it's a highly competitive global economy. Investors have to make tough choices. Where they're going to put their money, where they're going to put their investors' money. And Indonesia has a great chance, I think, to move forward. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 or 5 things you might do. But I want to say that the Indonesian economy is now going to attract investment, and it's not just on commodities or on the traditional investments, but as the population grows and as the consumers grow, and sophisticated consumers, you're going to be able to attract, money for healthcare investment and for communications and high tech. And by the way, food and clothing. It's a funny thing that happens that in societies, as people build up their appetites for higher end products, is a great attraction for investment. As a matter of fact, I told the chairman this morning that my wife and some other colleagues are traveling around your community today, so you might expect some economic growth that will be noted in the numbers for this week. All right, now back to the reality for just a minute or two of what you really need to do to become more competitive. We all agree there's too much regulatory uncertainty. At our breakfast this morning, one of the American companies said, if we knew what we were going to look at for a 5-year period of time and how the rules would be, and that we wouldn't have abrupt changes in regulation and gaps in implementation and enforcement, we'd spend more money right now. Although Indonesia continues, as I said, to move forward with reforms, these efforts have not yet created a level playing field for foreign investors or established clear and transparent rules for all the actors, domestic and foreign investors. In addition, decentralization has introduced another layer of bureaucracy for firms to navigate, resulting in costly red tape. Remember I said there's a lot of similarity between the U.S. and Indonesia? We have 50 states, and they're all trying to build their own bureaucracy. And some of you that invest in the United States understand this problem. Second, I think there is, as we mentioned, a lack of infrastructure to support this growing, expanding economy. Indonesia is seen as less competitive than other Southeast Asian nations in terms of logistics and infrastructure. Ports, roads, railways are still underdeveloped, and there are concerns about insufficient government spending on infrastructure. Sounds like I'm home. Same problem in the U.S. Third, there continues to be a shortage of skilled and educated workers. We've talked about that. The limited number of academic institutions and qualified teachers with an exploding population or a demand for education is challenging. And significant efforts are required to improve the quality and productivity of the Indonesian workforce. They want to work. The study makes a number of common sense recommendations in each of these areas, recommendations that often apply, as I said, to both of our countries, and I hope we can discuss them in more depth during the panel session. So let me conclude, having used more of your time than I think the organizers assumed. It's been said that capital goes where it is welcome, where it is safe, and where it has a good chance to profit and grow. And there's no question among American companies that Indonesia's economy holds enormous potential. Our companies are eager to deepen their partnership with Indonesia. However, growth in the United States investment cannot be taken for granted because of all the competitors. The respondents in our study were clear in wanting to see consistent policies, long-term commitment to infrastructure development, and an improvement in education. The U.S. Chamber and our AmCham, which by the way is doing very well, would like to continue to be partnered in that progress and partners in our mutual prosperity. With some common sense reforms, Indonesia can remain a beacon of investment, not only for the United States, but for the rest of the world. And I noticed that the president of China stopped by for a few days on his way to Bali, and I understand he plans to make some investments. Well, it gets contagious. If we're making them, maybe they're making them. If they're making them, maybe we're making them. And you need to take advantage of that. I just want to say thank you very much. I want to finally thank and encourage the people that came together to do the study. We all learned something. We all got a path for the future, and we all started to look at a series of numbers that would really be exciting. Now all we have to do is stop talking about it and do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas J. Donohue, for the opening remarks. We are honored today to have the newly appointed Chairman of the Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board with us. We would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Mahendra Siregar to come to the stage to give his remarks.
Very good morning to everybody. And first of all, I would like to greet my very good friend, Excellency Ambassador Dino Patijala, for his gracious time, not only for being here with us today, but I would not be too surprised if his influence and his role behind the screen in delivering the study is very prominent. But let us make sure that such kind of contribution continue. Tom Donohue, the President of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the delegation from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and of course Andrew White from AmCham, that have been very instrumental in producing this report, and especially USAID, and of course Paramadina University, and I understand there are a couple of other institutions behind this report and survey. I thank you very much for such a report. I haven't read the whole complete report, but I've read at least the summary, which is of course very informative, and for me it's also educational. There are some issues that I would like to highlight on this report, which would be very relevant in my task as the chair of the investment board. The first one is, of course, especially for our media friends, we are always looking for the figure. And I thank Tom and Andrew very much. We can get this figure. I appreciate the hard work in getting this, and probably the pressure that you have to do to get this in the way highlighted. In two issues. One, of course, the past 9 years figure of totaling $65 billion investment of the U.S. companies in Indonesia. But what is equally, if not more, interesting as well as challenging is the next 3 to 5 years figure of potential investment by these companies. This is interesting because the figure mentioned here is $61 billion US dollars. So if you divide it